We're back again, bro.
Damn.
Again, but this time, man, we got some good motherfucking. I want to say this, and I mean this with all due respect, but this is the best game we've played in the last 3 years.
As a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but if you're just going off of that first half, you're not going to find much there.
No.
Like, what we're talking about is a refusal to quit, bro. We were down 17, but for all intents and purposes, at the end of the first half, it was like 20.
We were down 18 going into the third quarter. And then they scored right off the bat in the third quarter to make it 20. So
right. And on top of that, we gave up 77 points in the first half.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You got the final score in front of you? I don't have it in front of me, but
111 to 119.
So we gave up a total of 111 points. 77 of them came in the first half. We won that game on the backs of our defense. Now, we're going to go forward, and we're going to be talking a lot about offense on this because, you know, we won the game. So that's what we want to focus on. But I've been at a loss for words when I've tried to explain to myself and to other people, why did we win that game? Like, it wasn't just a matter of us coming out and hitting shots in the second half. Yes, that happened. But we also had to get the stops. And I can't put my finger on it, what changed from the first half to the second half, but something changed.
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what happened.
Tell me.
Is, first of all, our defense, you can see what Coach D really hounded what's going on. And then they stopped hitting shots. It was like they went cold, like real fast. But they went cold on spurts. So we would cut it to like 10 or 8, and then they would, get a couple more buckets, and we would trade buckets back and forth. And then, they would go up by like 12, 14, and then would cut that back down again. It was cat and mouse a lot, but I really look at that, JDub had a good, decent first half. Beginning of third quarter, I think he had 17 points. But when he came in with like 3 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go in that third quarter to start his shift, like it was this moment where he's coming down the court, and Trey Mann had just failed at getting to the bucket, and we had other guys, like, a couple shots that missed. Like, things weren't going right. We were just grasping for air, and Trey Mann goes to get the ball from JDub, and JDub kind of like doesn't really wave him off, but lets him know that he's got it. Right?
Got that shit.
Gets it to the top of the key, drives hard to his left, and gets an and one. And it was like Coach light bulb goes off. Like all of a sudden everything starts going through JDub. Like JDub's running Shea's position. And it was like, holy cow. And it wasn't like, it was just this beautiful motion of everything that was happening at that moment. And you're just kind of sitting back and being like, wow, okay, I can see this now. I can see JDub doing this. And if it's JDub and you're talking JDub and Shea up at the top of the key, and they're going back and forth driving to the hole, and everybody else is just role players, man, like, what the fuck? Because JDub just showed us something that if he can do this consistently, and that's the key there, if he can do this consistently, he's going to be a top 10 player in the NBA.
He can. He will be. I don't know about top 10, but he can be a consistent player. What we saw last night would indicate...
You can't compare him to like people like Dwayne Wade and like a top tier like group like that without thinking that this guy eventually is going to get to that top 10 tier.
Well, I think that he demonstrated that he definitely has the talent. Now, the question is, like, the difference between talent and actually getting to that level is really what comes down to maximizing your talent. So when you're saying, like, can he be consistent? Well, if he gets consistent at 27 points a game, well, shit, he's in that conversation. So the consistency to me isn't about like numbers, though. It's about an approach.
Sure.
And there was no doubt that really how we summed up the last podcast really led into exactly what happened here, which is it's a next man up mentality.
Yeah.
We needed somebody to say, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. I mentioned 3 guys on the podcast last time. I said, watch out for JDub, Trey Mann, and Lou Dort.
Yeah.
Right? And Lou Dort had a really good shooting first half. I don't remember what he did in the first half. I think he hit like 3 threes. He was forcing them to defend the perimeter.
Yeah,
And,
like 18 or 17 in the first half, something like that.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, but that wasn't really keeping us in the game, right?
Yeah.
But then the second half, Trey Mann comes out and he's like, I'm a killer. And I kept hearing Sean Elliott say he's a problem. We got to figure out how to account for him. He's a problem. And he went out there and he did it. But this is no doubt 100% JDub's breakout game.
Yeah, like and I think it's one of those situations where if you're a professional in the aspect of you watch games, you highlight players, you watch, the mentality and the attitude that players give off to each other. You're going to watch this JDub situation with Trey Mann. Now, Trey Mann was having a pretty good game at that point. It wasn't like he waved off, somebody that was having a shitty game. Trey Mann came up to get the ball, and JDub's like, I got this, and he did exactly what Shea does. Drive hard, pull up, boom, foul, and one. Next play down, drives hard again. Like, listen, and then JDub starts orchestrating everything. Like, you get backdoor cuts, you get this, you get that, and it's just like, okay, like this is what we needed to see from him, to be able to say, like, okay, can this guy take it from 12, 13 points a game to all of a sudden having a breakout game at 27? Can he do that? Well, obviously he can, because look at what he just did. And you're saying, okay. I mean, he's shooting 62% from the field this year, on 2-point shots. Like, that's phenomenal. Like, this is the type of stuff that we're seeing in a very young, talented player, that you're looking at him and you're saying 6'7" point guard is exactly what he is. Like, you could put him at the forward position. You can say he goes here, he could go here. But the reality is he's a bigger, stronger version of one of the best point guards in the league already, and that's Shea. And it's impressive to me, like, again, how Sam Presti was able to land somebody like JDub, because I don't know, man. It's getting exciting.
Yeah. And if I'm the rest of the league, I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't need another player with his talent level so fast. But I mean, if you pay attention to other Thunder podcasts, you might have seen Down to Dunk think yesterday was the time to start talking about us tanking again for literally the fourth year in a row, which, you do the math, you figure it out. But really? You guys think that's what we need to do? What about these guys out here who are competing? Why don't we as fans support them? Why don't we cheer for them to be successful instead of, pushing our own prerogatives out there? And that's what we're watching. We're watching this team go out there and be successful, and we're cheering for them. I woke up my whole house multiple times yelling because I couldn't believe that we mounted that level of comeback without Shea. With Shea, we've seen it. And look, I'd still be yelling. But you take out Shea and you go, this is the type of growth that this team needs. We don't ever want to see someone get hurt. Yeah. But
to know we can lean on JDub in these situations. Like, we can rely on JDub in that fourth quarter when Shea comes out of the game. Like, in order for us to be able to even say this about JDub, it's he stepped up big enough. It's like, okay, now we can actually rely on him doing this. And coach can say, we're going to act like JDub. It's going to happen now. JDub is Shea. And that second team, especially when Shea gets back, we're going to have JDub in that time period. We have such a hard time scoring. And we're going to let JDub do his thing. And I'm telling you guys, if that's the case, and we just found that piece that we've been missing, without going out and out making a trade, without, searching this or that, and we just found the piece and it's right there with JDub, then, I mean, JDub could have 7-8 points in that time period, 8-9 points in that time period that Shea's out and resting. And if that's the case, then, I mean, come on, guys. Like, that's the biggest piece that we've been missing this entire time, is somebody to can step up and score while Shea's out sitting on the bench.
Or when teams, put a lot of pressure on him, take the ball out of his hands, whenever that does happen, you got to be able to swing the ball and attack. And his level of aggression is something that we need to nurture. We need to watch it come along. He's a rookie. He doesn't look like a rookie, but then he has rookie moments. But I don't want to focus on those. What I want to talk about now with JDub is those dunks. Bro, it's one thing to go out there and put up 27. it's another thing to put people on posters while you're doing that. And one of them I watched 3 times. I still can't figure out how he dunked it. That baseline.
Baseline?
Yeah.
Bro, I literally had to stop it just before the dunk.
It was
right?
What?
Because there's so much action in the air. And then I just did it by frame at that point. And it was, but the thing is like, you know, those guys that when they dunk, it's like everything is like, whoom, 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 you know? It was so fast. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, he missed that. He got blocked. You know, like, and then I saw his reaction. I'm like, oh, what just happened? You know, and I rewind.
Right. Look, if he wasn't on our team, right, and you say this guy has the ability to drop 27, he can dunk from the free throw line, which I don't know for sure he can, but this guy looks like he's got that level of athleticism. He can jump off of 1 or 2 feet, right? He can knock down the 3 with confidence. He plays defense. He scores really well in the mid-range, and he finishes at a high clip when he gets to the basket. You'd be like, okay, there's only a handful of players who can actually do that, and you're like, oh, by the way, he's a rookie, and he's on your team, and nobody knows what to think about him yet. Like, we know. When we started watching him, and everybody started going crazy about him in the draft combine, we're like, all right, we got to check him out. And I've said this before, but the number one reason we checked him out was his wingspan. We're like, we need to see who this guy is with a 7'2" wingspan. But like, we came away, I never ever think about his wingspan. It's not about his wingspan. It's not about his vertical leap. Like, he could.
I just didn't think at 12 he would be available anymore. Like when we were scouting him and we were looking at the way he broke down the game, I said to you, I was like, bro, I think he goes top 8.
Yeah, I mean, but there was a lot of Shaedon Sharpe, Dyson Daniels conversation, and people bid on those, man. They went for that.
Well, and for good reasons. These guys are playing well. Like, Shaedon is truly spectacular. But
yeah, but dude, no, there's no way that Shaedon will be a better player than JDub over his career. Now, I can't say there's no way.
I think there's 5 guys in this draft, maybe 6 guys that are all-stars. All right? I think that's the key right there. I think the rest of them are going to be...
the top 3?
I don't even think the top 3 are. I think you're talking about Chet, right? I think you're talking about Paolo on some occasions.
All right, so we got 2.
Just depending on everything. I think you also you've got JDub. I think he's going to end up being an all-star. I think you have
Benedict Mathurin.
Benedict Mathurin.
That's 4.
And then we were just talking about him. Not Dyson.
Shaedon.
I think he's a 5th.
Okay.
The rest of them, I mean, I can see maybe one of them, other guys, in the top of this draft being an all-star, or maybe one in the back end of the draft. But this is the draft that I'm looking at. I'm starting to recognize that, you know, there's 5, 6, maybe 7 guys in this group that are going to be all-stars. And I don't know a draft that has all-stars like that, other than, like, you know, 2003 or something like that, where you have a top of the draft is so phenomenal that I was like, whoa, that's insane. You know, the banana boat. Right?
But you didn't mention Ousmane Dieng, and I know there's way more for us to see from him before we can go to that all-star level. But
sure.
But dude, that guy balled. He balled the last 2 games. He can finish around the basket much better than he could when he arrived. He can knock down the 3. He can defend. He has good positioning. I
just think with Ousmane Dieng, he needs time. Like, for me to say that, you know, he's going to be an all-star means that he's going to have to kick one of our starters out. You know, like, I can see JDub filling that other starter position, because when Chet comes back, we have one starter position available. But even having JDub as the 6th man isn't that bad of an idea, allowing Poku to start. So to me, the combination of starters, it doesn't matter. Like, the way that we if you look at we get 5 guys that start, obviously. We have 1 guy that never goes above 20 minutes, and that's starting 5. We get 1 guy that doesn't go above, like, 27 minutes, and the rest of them, they hit their 30-minute mark, right? On the bench, we get, like, 2 or 3 guys that get 20 minutes. You know, like, it's nothing for somebody like JDub to come on in the game and put up 30 minutes, 35 minutes. as a sixth man because, like we have Poku out there playing his position, which, by the way, I want to throw this out there. Poku, they said had 1 block, but he had 2 blocks. They gave a team block for us because of the second block. But, dude, he didn't play necessarily a ton of minutes with only 18 minutes, but he had 5 points. He had 2 blocks, in my opinion. He had an assist. He had 7 rebounds, 5 of which were offensive. Like, it's that extra effort, man, that we're seeing. And you were talking about when we were watching JDub, with the draft and watching how he is playing. Well, it's these guys, they have heart. And that's what separates them. Like, we've seen, like, what we call the cool guys over at in Minnesota, right? Where everybody's like, we're so cool, we're so amazing, we're like top 5 guys, da-da-da-da. And then it's like, blah, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. If you could have all the top 5 prospects in the world, and if they don't have that heart, they don't have that mentality, they don't have the desire to go out there and that passion to play, they're not going to ever amount to anything, but except for, a good all-star. But what is that? I mean, a good all-star is nothing in the NBA. You want to have a winning team. That's what we have. We have so much heart. Like Kenny Williams, call him Kenny Hustle, and he used to stand out so much playing with us, right, man?
Yeah.
Right? And he still stands out so much. But it's everybody else that's playing at that level now. And he doesn't stand out like a sore thumb because he's notched up everybody else. Like everybody else is stepping up. Everybody else is playing really hard. Yeah, Kenny still knows that next level and that next gear that he can get to. But it's everybody playing that hard. Seeing that Lou Dort has like 32, has drawn 32 offensive fouls, right? Like, dude, he leads the NBA in that. As a team, we have like 79 or something like that drawn offensive. That's the first in the league. Like, we're not even playing Jalen Williams, who's probably going to end up being one of the best in the NBA ever at drawing charges. Yeah. And it's just insane to me. We are so much designed to not just like play defense, but get these guys in foul trouble. I mean, every time we have to play against a top tier guy, Dort's going to pick up 1 or 2 fouls against the guys that screen. Mm-hmm. Every single time. And it's insane, man. We're taking, teams out of the game before they even have a chance in some of these situations. And we're so young.
We're so young. But, man, what was interesting was I thought we weren't going to even compete this game after the first half. Like, it just didn't feel like this was our game. Mm-mm. But none of these guys felt like, I don't think anybody out there really felt like they played well the first half. And I would have loved to, been in the locker room to hear what coach said, to hear the change of strategy. But really, it just seems like mostly we just got back to doing what we wanted to do. Like,
we just put pressure on the shooters more. I mean, like, we were already doing that, but you can't go 48 minutes with hitting every single shot. And if you do, you're going to end up having a couple players with 40 points or 35-plus points. Coach D just played the odds and saying these guys are going to cool down. We got to play our defense, got to play a little bit harder, and they'll cool down.
And it happened. So now where do we go? I mean, we're looking at it. Obviously, we're pumped. We're here in December. We figured out a little bit what we need to do without Shea against a good team. The Spurs, I know they've lost 9 or 10 games in a row now, but in the end, they're gonna try to pick on a team like us when we're missing out on our star. They're gonna bully ball us. They're gonna say we've got good rotation players, we've got good depth, and it just felt like we were a better team.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we didn't have our best player, and that's something that they realize that's got to be intimidating.
They didn't have their best players either.
Yeah, like, but who? I mean, who? Like Vassell or
Shohan, whatever his name is. He's special. He's the next guy that Sam Presti picked up that everybody's like, damn it, he did it again.
Which guy? I don't know who you're talking about.
Shohan, whatever. Rookie
I don't know
kid.
who this guy is. No idea.
Dude, we did a draft profile on him.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the guy from Baylor, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
yeah. Shohan, yeah.
I mean, well, he's a decent defensive player, can knock down some shots. I mean,
dude, he's special. You watch, he's special. He's going to be one of those guys that, like, again, that Sam Presti special, I call him. Yeah, but it's not Sam Presti. It's going to be not Sam Presti.
R.C. Buford. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, 9th pick this last year in the draft. So he went above JDub. He went above.
I'm telling you, man, they're gonna regret that one. They could have got JDub or Jang, and they went with a defensive specialist.
I know, dude. Dude, I laugh at some of these guys that, again, this happens every year, guys. Every year that the draft happens, we always sit back and we always look back at 6 months and then 8 months and then a year and then a year and a half and then 2 years down the road of the draft. And it's every single time it's like, damn, we got a good deal. And we still feel that way about Josh Giddey. Everybody that's hating on Josh Giddey right now is just pissing the fuck out of me right now.
You know what, though? You know what was funny, man? The Spurs announcers were sitting there, like, giving him so much love, and they were saying, like, Sean Elliott was saying stuff like, every single team in the NBA would want a passer like Josh Giddey. Every single team.
Why wouldn't you? Holy shit.
And they were just going on and on and on. I'm like, why is it that our fans can't see the positives? I mean, you could look at it.
We have a lot of fans that see the positive, but we're talking about the podcasters and the other quote unquote Oklahoma City Thunder experts that are out there saying, we should never have gotten Josh Giddey.
I mean, look, we can look at it and be like, all right, 14 points, right around his average. But really, what was really impressive to me, what really stood out was his ability to rebound the ball. Those 14 rebounds were, I would say...
Oh, it was insane.
Yeah, he dominated the glass. And
dude, 100%.
I don't know that I've ever... I would say that about him in any other game. He's had games where he's had probably more rebounds, but there's a difference between, going in and getting the ball when the bodies are all there and, taking a long rebound. And he was going in, he was crashing the boards with the big guys, and he was leaving with a rebound over and over and over again.
Sure.
And that, to me, it's not about him conforming to anybody's version of what they think they want from him. It's about him being the best player he can be. And sometimes you can impact the game knocking down shots, but you can't guarantee you will. Rebounding and defense are ways that you can guarantee to impact the game if you go out there and play at the level you're capable of. And
sure.
Giddey did what we needed him to do. And on top of that, even though he didn't knock down an outside shot, and it wasn't even necessarily like a good miss, to me it's a good miss because he needs to continue to shoot those perimeter shots, continue to practice them, and it'll come along. If he gives up shooting it, then I'm worried.
All right, let's just say Josh Giddey puts on 20 pounds, 15 pounds, right? Can he play that power forward position on defense?
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
All right. Because, to me, that's where I'm starting to look at and say, if we could have him and play at that power forward position, you could have JDub in the starting lineup. And I look at this team and I'm saying, okay, I want Lou Dort to stay in that starting position. Josh Giddey, JDub, Shea, and Chet. I think you got one of the best rounded, starting five in the NBA. It doesn't matter how young they are. So you look at that and you say, okay, great. But at any given time, obviously Poku is sitting right there and saying, hey guys, play me. Because, I believe in the Twin Towers. I do. I believe these two guys are going to dominate the NBA on defense. But it's not every game that you're going to need that. You're going to need JDub every game, without question. Because his 27 points a game, which I know he's capable now of doing, in year 3 is going to be big. It's going to be one of those things where everybody's like, damn. Because we can start expecting that all we want this year, but we're not going to see that consistently. We can start expecting to see that more consistently next year, but it's his 3rd year, guys. That's it. That's the moneymaker. That's the year that we're going to watch JDub truly take over. So what if Poku starts next year in between that, And that's what JDub needs is to come off the bench next year. But I'm excited about seriously, guys, how many guys under 25 are we going to have fighting for a position on the team, much less a starting position? I love this. I love the fact that we can look at our starting positions, our starting lineup, and say we've only had three that have been identical this entire year.
Really?
I I mean, it could be 4 or 5, but the last time I looked, there was only like Shea's been out for 4 games. Josh has been out for a bunch of games, right? You've had Poku out a bunch of games, JDub out a bunch of games. So, you know what I'm saying? There's only been a handful of times that we've had the same exact lineup out there. This is what we need. We need that. We did it last podcast, that next man mentality, that next man up. Like, anybody that's willing to step up the way that JDub stepped up last night and showing us what he can do, like, that was 27 points, and it was effortless. It was like he didn't do much. Like, he barely broke a sweat. That's next level.
He's a superstar in the making, bro. And that will probably concern some people that were getting carried away. But we were talking about...
Listen, if people think you're getting carried away by saying something like that, then you didn't watch what he did last night. If you watch what he did and what he's done and shown throughout the season and little flashes here and there, then you can say, yeah, this is a superstar in the making.
Yeah, I would say, though, like, if it was just one game, right, then I would say we'd be a little premature. And I understand that, like, he hasn't had another game where he had superstar-like numbers. But if you go back prior to the game last night and you just say, like, what was the narrative that we really felt like we were at with JDub? It was he just needs to go out there and be aggressive. He needs to go out there and attack every time he catches the ball. He needs to look to get downhill, right? And all this stuff. Dude, and it's like...
so great.
But the reason we were like, oh, he needs to do that is because we would see him do it. He would do it at a high level, and then he would feel like, okay, I'm on the court with other good players. I got to let them have a chance. And that's why, going back to the very beginning of what we were talking about, is when he turned down passing the ball to Trey Mann. And then he's like, I got this. That's the arrival of a player who recognizes,
dude, it was that
what
moment.
He's capable. Before you go, I want to say one thing real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all good. The other day you brought up Sun Tzu, The Art of War, right? And you said to know your enemy.
Yeah.
If you know yourself and you know your enemy, you can't lose.
Yeah.
If you just know yourself, you'll win one, you'll lose one.
Sure.
If you just know your enemy, I don't remember. It's Sun Tzu, but my point is this.
If you don't know either, you lose every battle.
Fucked. Right. JDub is, you saw him suddenly realize who he is.
Yeah.
We saw that happen last night. He just was like, he woke up and he realized, like, this isn't a dream. This isn't somebody else's team. This isn't somebody else's responsibility. I'm the man. I'm the man. I'm the man.
I'm the man. Like, dude, we've seen this happen so many times throughout our coaching careers and different, opportunities where you see these players that practice so well, but they can't put it out in a game. And you just keep on putting your trust, and hopefully things will come through and they'll be able to do it, right?
Practice all-star, baby.
Right? And then all of a sudden, one game they do it, and then you go to them and say, that's exactly what I'm telling you about. That's exactly what I'm saying. And when we were talking about, J-Dub's weakest part of his game being the fact that he's not aggressive. He's not aggressive enough, And then you see in a game where there was at least 10 more times he touched the ball, he should have been more aggressive. And you're saying, okay, if he was acting like this every single time, so coach is going to get back to the film room, and he already saw it during the game because he kept on going back to JDub, go back to JDub, go back to JDub, right? And he scored like 12 points in the next, whatever amount of time. Like, it was impressive. And you go back and seeing how coach made sure he got isolated in those positions and taking up at the top of the key. That was trust. Now they go back to the film room and coach is like, hey, we're going to keep doing this. Like if you're going to be that sixth man when he comes back, we're going to keep doing this. If Shea's not coming back tomorrow or the next game, you're going to run this position. That's Shea's position. This is what I want you to do from now on. We saw it last year when we switched to Josh Giddey. Like when Josh Giddey goes out there and has a few triple doubles in a row, and the next thing you know is they're saying, hey, Josh is going to take some over that more point guard position. He's going to get more touches in that point guard position. It's not unheard of for this team. So I'm looking at it, and I'm saying JDub just earned himself you know, hey, you do this 2 more times and that starting position is yours. And that's that.
We need him, bro. We need him if we're going to legitimately be able to make a move to become a contender over the next few years. And I don't know. I don't really give a fuck what people think about our chances of becoming like a really, really great team. Like, to really understand where this team is, you'd have to like have paid attention to the draft, the players that we've been getting, the progression they've made year after year. And then you'd have to be able to take all that information and then try to project where this team is headed. Or you could just pull a Schlecht and just start talking about tanking, even though like we made it to Game 7, you know, with the Rockets.
Sure.
That was the year they wanted to give up. This year they want to give up. They want to give up every year. It's fine. Let the losers do that. That's losers. We want to watch this team win. We want to watch this team compete for 4 quarters. We want to watch this team put on massive comebacks. We want to see them get everybody in the Paycom arena on their feet. And when we see that, like, that's what we believe in. You know, that's it. We believe in this team, the future of this team. We believe in the identity of this team, the direction they're being built. We believe in the management, the coaching, and all of it. But the main thing that we believe in is player development. Like,
100%, man.
There's no way you can draft and guarantee what players are going to be. But you can help them maximize their ability through player development. And if you're committed to doing that, then you'll see a guy like Isaiah Roby out there playing for the Spurs who used to play for us. And you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we love Isaiah Roby. Yeah, we want him to be successful. But we want to win the game.
Yeah.
We want to win every game.
Yeah, man. And now we're looking at Saturday being our next game against Minnesota. And let's just talk about the next 7 games, because it goes Minnesota, Atlanta, Memphis, Cleveland, Dallas, Miami, Minnesota. 7 games right there.
Damn.
Minnesota's in disarray right now. You got Atlanta, right, holding their heads above water. Memphis is injury prone right now. Cleveland, whatever. Dallas, whatever. Miami, injury prone. Back to Memphis or Minnesota. So I think a good goal would be 3 out of the next 7 here.
I want to get both against the Timberwolves because they laid a good punch on us at the beginning of the season.
Let's just go with what we've seen this season, though. 3 for 7 seems doable, and it seems like, you know, being 12 and 20 at that point, I think would be a hell of a mark, because that leaves us mid-December, December 16th, and the fact is that having those 10 games or 12 games under our belt would be big.
If we did that, bro, we'd be 12 and 17, not 12 and 20, because you're not going to count 7 losses there.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
It's all good. I just checked that because I was like, but I mean, 12 and 17, like, bro, that's not bad. That's what we want to look at.
Yeah.
I mean some people would be like,
that's the
it's
type of growth we want to see.
Yeah, we want to see.
We don't need the growth to happen until the second half, because let's just be honest, the second half starting in February, or let's just say February, right? Mm-hmm. Is we got February 1st and then February 4th, both against Houston. Okay, Golden State's going to be winning. Los Angeles is going to be trying to winning. Portland is probably going to at that point we're like, hey, you know, we've got to figure this out. We got another game against Houston. We got Utah. You know, like the second half here, Sacramento, right? Utah twice more. San Antonio again. Brooklyn, Toronto, Clippers twice. We've got so many winnable games down the stretch, and especially games that people are going to be like, well, they're trying to win now, but all of a sudden when it comes down to it, they're going to be like, listen, we got a chance. We got a chance to get, you know, a top 5 pick here. We got to put that money on that tank. And we're going to see it. I mean, we're going to see a hard core to it. And looking at it down here, I mean, it could be at that moment where in mid-February, we're playing out there and we're winning games by 20-plus points. Because teams are like, we're not even fucking around with this stuff anymore. And then if that's the case, our wins are becoming easy while getting that momentum.
That's the future, bro. It's going to be incremental, but like if we can keep our head above water, if we can find ourselves where we're healthy and we're competing, and you know, then we'll have that chance. And if we find ourselves in a spot where we're not healthy, we're not competing, then we know we're going to lean into player development again. But last year versus this year, I mean, last year at the end of the season, bro, I feel like we only were missing Shea. But I know we sat so many people, like some games we only had 6 or 7 people ready to play.
Sure.
But like there was a stretch from after the All-Star game, we ended up with 1 game with Giddey and Shea. And then after that, like Shea probably played like 15 games before they sat him down.
Right.
But my point is, when they sat him down, that team that we saw out there, personnel-wise, we do have a couple different players than we had last year, but it didn't really look that different personnel-wise than last year. But what looked different was, like you're saying, every player is out there playing like Kenny Hustle. Well, we always said when we were coaching, dive on the ground for loose balls, box your man out, defend at a high level. You can't control every shot, but if you do those things, then good things will happen more times than not.
Yeah.
That's the right way to play. And if our team embraces that and you see it happen and you're like, well, we're at the 12th man, 13th man, 14th man, 15th man, and they're all playing that way, they're practicing that way.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a win.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's about understanding all these guys playing at a high level at the same time. On the same page at the end of the season. We watched it last year. We watched how these guys were able to step up. Yes, we went through injury after injury after injury, right? But they know that there's a next level to be stepped up. Shea's very understanding of that. He's played with, unbelievable coaches and point guards throughout his career. So I feel like this is a really good moment that we're all going to be able to sit back and recognize what Shea is going to be capable of doing this second half. And carrying this team to the playoffs, you guys are saying, oh, well, still kind of out there. But you know what? Here's the thing, guys. If we're 20 or 12 and 17, all right, and we duplicate that, okay? So now we're, 24 and 37 or 34, right? Okay? And we're looking at it, and we still have, at that point, 40-something games or 20-something games left. Okay, that's the moneymaker, guys. That's the moment that we see this team start clicking. Because at that point, we know we've got to win, 10 games to even get into consideration of being in that play-in. 10 of the last 28 games. That's even the last consideration. But Mark and I, the way that we watch this team and the way that we've talked in the past, we don't think that last 28 games is going to be only 10 wins. We think that last 28 games is going to be much more. Looking at the competition, who we're going to be playing in the last, 8 games, 5 of the last 8 games are going to be teams that are going to be tanking or aren't going to be playing well at that point of the season. So you can't sit there and say, oh, yeah. The Thunder aren't going to go off and win an enormous amount of games the last 28 games, because I look at it and I say, man, we could win 18, 19 of the last 28 and put ourselves in a position to win almost 45 games. And people are like, oh, I don't know about that. But listen, guys, it's possible. Because what we're seeing with this team without Shea, if this team couldn't get a win without Shea, we'd be like, okay, this isn't possible. But with the emergence of JDub, and if he continues to play like we can see what we saw here, then anything's possible. I mean, like literally anything's possible. 45 wins is completely possible. Completely. Because we don't need to wait for Chet to come back to have that second tier scorer out there. We have him.
Absolutely. And then it gets wild when you start thinking about all that. But we don't need to. We don't need to, because we get to enjoy what we're watching right now, which is a young team really, taking the bull by the horns and playing at a great level.
Basketball.
Yeah, man. You got anything else about the Thunder? I'm gonna bring up something else if you got.
No, man. We had one of our listeners went to the game the other day. Sure. So
I think his name is Unk314 or something. I don't remember exactly.
Dude, listen, I like Unk. He has stepped up a couple times and said some stuff. Another listener, Dan, said some really nice things about us today, yesterday, whatever. Really appreciative of that. Listen, guys. I've said this before about you guys out there that decide to stand up and say something. Like it's meaningful to us. It's one of those things where Mark and I, we do go back and look at the reviews. We go back and interact with the people that are talking to us. And the reason we do so is because it means something to us that you guys go out there and want to reach out and talk. Obviously, we don't sit here and say that we're basketball experts by any stretch of the imagination. We just like to say we've been around the game long enough to understand what we see. And it's just been fun to be able to share what we feel like is knowledge with you guys. And that's all this is.
Absolutely. It's definitely a shared passion. You can't really find anybody else who decided to, take on a project this size during a rebuilding time, right? But our goal wasn't to be around just for wins. We wanted to watch it happen. We wanted to be documenting it as it happened. And that's what this is all about. All right, man. So jumping over, I really don't have a lot to talk about, but with LeBron last night, he fully took aim at Jerry Jones. And I'm not saying LeBron watches our podcast. Okay. But I bet he would have enjoyed our little segment about Jerry Jones. Here's what I'd say about Forrest Gump or Jerry Jones, whatever you guys want to call him. Like, if we can't stand up and say that that's fucked up and that's wrong, like where he was, then there is no right and wrong that's worth standing up to. I would say that when we look back, and when history looks back, they're going to recognize that it was people like him who gave other people around him power. And yeah, it's crazy that it takes LeBron James saying, hey, let's talk about this like everybody's talking about Kyrie. Why don't we go ahead and put the same microscope on? And they're like, oh, no, we don't want to do that. But listen, I got to give a massive shout out to LeBron James, because to me, he took the bull by the horns and he said, this is unacceptable. And I get it. Jerry Jones is like, oh, I'm just curious. I'm Forrest Gump, right? But here's the reality, bro. North Little Rock, Arkansas, I think, when was the picture taken? In like
1957.
57, okay. 1921 was the Tulsa Race Massacre. 57 is 36 years away. I get it, he's a kid. He's not 36 years old in that picture. He's like 14, 15. But my point is, the pain, it's still real. Like, we just passed the 100th anniversary of that. I just saw that they found new unmarked graves. We're talking about fucking genocide, bro. We're talking about, in other countries, we'd call it ethnic cleansing.
Yep.
We're watching Jerry Jones stand in between people and going to a school. And we're like, oh, he wants the excuse of he was curious. Like, does everybody who participated in the Tulsa race riot, I bet they'd all just want to say they were curious too. But you know what they were? They were murderers. And I'm not saying Jerry Jones is that level, but what I am saying is his complicity with what was happening there, him standing on that side, he was one of the millions of people who empowered the white supremacists, the evil people, to limit access to schools, to government buildings, to water fountains, to soda fountains. Nobody was allowed. There was no equality. He wasn't there to be curious. That's my opinion. Okay. And also, my opinion is we have to call this out. We have to point it out and say it's wrong. And if we can't say it's wrong, then we're fucked.
Yeah. And this is like one of those situations where, sure, we'll go with this, I guess. You want to walk into one of those shady motherfucking restrooms, that you have to go pee so bad you don't really give a care, and you go into it, and right next to the urinal, there's this hole, right? A hole right into the metal where obviously it's like, I wonder what that hole's for. There's two type of people. One, three type of people. Person that finished peeing and gets the fuck out of there, right? The person that turns around and leaves, okay? Or the person's like, I wonder what goes in the hole.
A glory hole, bro?
Yeah, bro. Like, stick my dick in that hole, right? I wonder what's on the other side, right? So I look at Jerry Jones and the situation like that, person of like, the glory hole. I wonder Wonder where that goes. Well, let me just stick my dick in it and see if anything happens here. Like, that's what's going on. Jerry's out there, and he has his dick in the hole, and he got caught with his fucking dick in the hole. That's as simple as that.
And he's like trying to say, "Oh no, I didn't."
Oh no. I was just curious. I had no idea it was in the hole.
No idea what would happen.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that would happen.
Could have been a cheese shredder for all I know.
Yeah. Like I would. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, that's the way I look at this situation. You know, like Jerry Jones literally got caught with his pants down, his dick in his hole, whatever, the dick in the hole, and the cops walked in, and he's literally saying, "Guys, all I did was stick my dick in the hole. I had no idea there was somebody sucking my cock on the other end." You know, like, no idea. And I'm seriously, I'm dumbfounded. I'm with LeBron on here. Is like, why is there so much light being pushed on Kyrie, and yet this is one of those things that are being like, oh, well, that was in 1957. Okay, so it's okay to be a racist in 1957? Just not now? What the fuck? That's nonsense.
And his whole stance on refusing to allow players to kneel, you don't think that's in line with the person who is just curious and happened to show up at one of the pivotal racist moments in our country's history? Like, it's sad. It's sad that our country has a history of racism. It's sad that we have all of that, but it doesn't mean you sweep it under the carpet. It means that you expose it. Like, you can't hide things like this and deal with them. If you have something that's infected and it's festering and it's getting worse, it needs to be cleansed. It needs to be brought to the light. It needs to be shared.
Yeah.
And if you just hide it, then it's just going to continue to perpetuate itself. There's no doubt why Jerry Jones was there, to me. But like I said at the beginning, we'll let other people determine. Is he Forrest Gump and he just happened to bump into this and happened to bump into Gump Shrimp Co. and then ended up bumping into being a billionaire and then ended up bumping into the Dallas Cowboys, and he's just kind of like Mr. Magoo. He's got no idea what's happening. He just keeps on winning. Or is he a calculated asshole? You choose.
I think that most of America, even Cowboys fans, are going to say the same thing. If you remember Jerry Jones in the 90s and things that he said, he's a calculated asshole. There's no way in the world that Jerry Jones just happens to fall upon a racist riot. I mean, like, listen, if you've ever been part of a riot or if you've ever been part of anything like that, okay, guys, everybody's screaming, everybody's yelling, everybody's participating, okay? You can't sit there and say Jerry Jones doesn't understand what's going on because nobody's saying anything. People are screaming things at people in that photo.
And you have to look around you and say, like, which side am I on? Am I on the side of the people who are screaming racist shit? Because even Forrest Gump didn't find himself on that side. You know what I mean? So this whole Forrest Gump excuse that I've been trying to give Jerry Jones, it doesn't hold water.
No, I don't know what else to say except for I hope more NBA players come out and stand up against it. I hope more NFL players come up and stand up against it. Like Jerry Jones, he should give it to his son before it's too late and the NBA or the NFL takes it from him. Because
it's too late to me.
The NFL is not going to take it from him. But if he were to step down now and come out with an apology for his actions, then what does he lose? 2 or 3 years left with the Cowboys? I mean,
that
Jerry's
would be really cool, bro. If he was
shit,
capable of that.
His balls are to his ankles already, man. Like, how much longer he's got?
He's just not capable because in the end, like, you know that phrase, don't get high on your own supply. If anybody's seen Scarface, you know that's the wicked ending, right? In the end, Jerry Jones is getting high on his own supply. He really believes his bullshit. He thinks he just showed up out of curiosity. Like, how'd you get your face in the paper? Man. Just being curious. You just follow that mob?
Remember that book that you told me about, Sex, Drugs, and Aphrodisiacs?
Yes, I do.
Yes, man.
Do you still have? I lost my copy, bro.
I have one someplace around here.
Dude, amazing. That has some shit in it that like is illegal now, bro.
Oh, 100%. But
like no,
I sometimes
like poaching,
think about
like they're talking about like rhino horns for fucking and shit.
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
Sorry.
No. But it's completely fascinating. If you guys have never read it before, I've heard about it. Sex, drugs, and aphrodisiacs.
It's way out of print, and only occasionally somebody will print it. I found a very rare copy, but I'm just glad you have one, dude.
I got this, like, when I was reading it, right, man? I'm just really into the whole, like, what it's saying and stuff like that. And it comes to this one point where it's like, you take a dime size, or not dime size, a couple pin drops of opium, and you put them on your finger, and then you stick them up your asshole. Like, you make sure you get right on that prostate, right? And, like, you can't help but wonder, being like, oh, shit, that's going to fucking, like, I can't even imagine the feeling on that, right? Opium on your prostate, like, while you're having sex and shit like that, right?
I hope you're listening.
Anyways, like, you can't help but wonder, like, how amazing that would be. And then you're like, oh, fuck, man. Like, then you got to go through the process of finding that shit, right? This is what I'm saying, and trying to draw correlations.
Where are we going?
Is Jerry Jones, right, still thinks that he can get high and he can feel good by sticking his fingers in his asshole with some opium on the tip of it. Not recognizing that now he's just become an addict to what drama is. And he's taking up space in Dallas, which is a place that he can take up space, because let's just put it out there. I mean, I've been all over the world, and there's 3 places that come to mind when I think of racist areas. You know, I think of Alabama, and in particular Birmingham, where I spent some time at. I think of Augusta, Georgia, where I spent some time at. And I think of the last one, obviously, Dallas. And it's just because of what I've seen, okay, guys? And it's not anything else. But I look at it and I say, out of all the places that Jerry Jones could be, this is the one place that he could literally be in public, taking opium and putting it on his finger and shoving up in his asshole and running around naked, and nobody's going to do anything. It's his kingdom. He's a sheik of Dallas. Nobody's fucking going to do anything. And because of that, he's going to be all right. He's going to look at it and he's going to be like, nobody's going to kick me out of an ownership, because they can't. I'm a sheik.
And that is fucking depressing. You know what I mean? But in the end, if enough people like you and me, like LeBron, say, no, we're not going to forget this shit. I don't care if it was 1957. You found yourself on the wrong side of history. And now you're exploiting, working with people, making money off of people that you were trying to block from going to school, or their parents you were trying to block from going to school. This is an issue. Getting rid of players who kneel, it's an issue. It's not your choice. Fine. But now we can draw a straight line back to 1957. And I already drew that line back to 1921. And look, you want to keep going? Like, we could go way back. This is not something that started in 21. It didn't start around the Civil War. It didn't start when this country started. It started before. But at some point, somebody has to be able to say what LeBron said, which is, you can point your fingers at Kyrie, but you better be ready to point them at Jerry Jones. And nobody's asking me about Jerry Jones. Nobody
wants to lose a job.
Well,
that's the problem. Care. LeBron doesn't care. That's why the players and the players need to start standing up as a unit, because nobody else is going to start writing about it until these players start voicing their opinions.
It's our job to make sure that this isn't dropped.
Yeah.
Even after he's gone, even after he's dead. Because to me, like, we need to be able to say, like, this is a moment that is kind of a watershed moment for this, for football, for NFL, for America. Like if you have this in your background, you are not qualified to be the Sheik of Dallas, to own a team, to be a part of something. This is not a matter of, like, somebody, when they're young, accidentally doing something. Like he said, his coach told him not to go there. He went there. He got punished. Why did he get punished? For being curious? Oh, that's what he likes to think. Right? You don't get... Never mind. Look, we said what we got to say. I'm going to go ahead and let you finish up. Anything else you got to say, you go ahead and say. I'm done.
Yeah, let's, World Cup's been going down. Obviously, that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, Australia fans, man, they were all over you paying attention to that game.
Dude, it was huge, man.
Yeah, I'm not really into football, soccer, whatever. I'm very, very.
Listen, they could have made it right to round of 16 without that win, but it would have been challenging. And I look at what's going on with soccer, man, and it really excites me. You know, you have United States, you have Australia, Germany is pretty much done.
Yeah, we got two.
Yeah, dude.
Happy.
Like, it's like, listen, this could be the new wave, the new age. It would be fun to be able to have an opportunity where, like, USA gets, a little bit further and Australia gets a little bit further, and having at least two teams right now that I can cheer for. I mean, I fucking never get that. Like, especially in World Cup, you never get two teams to cheer for.
Yeah, and last time I think I said Ronaldo was from South America, and I think he's from Portugal. So, way to go, Mark.
He is definitely from Portugal.
Way to go, Mark.
No, you're good, dude. You're good. Argentina,
Portugal
Messi.
is in South America. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Argentina.
It's in Europe. But that's Argentina.
I mean, it's in South Europe.
There's no way to recover for this. We're fucked. Thank you for joining us. Go get laid. We love you.
Yes.
Peace.
Get some. Ow.